never been running the whole time I've been. Yep. Oh yeah, in the one room. Hey, Brian, that clock is actually wrong. It's 8. I mean 9. Yeah. He's out. Yeah. Whenever you're ready, sir.
All right.
Order and I'll read the rules.
All right, call to order the Escambia County Conferencing Board regular meeting for November 3rd, 2021.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. The Escambia County Contractor Competency Board rules are as follows. Please silence all cell phones. If you wish to speak, please let the board secretary know in advance. Otherwise, raise your hand for the board chair to recognize your request. When the chairman calls you to speak, come to the podium. We're not going to adjust the microphone, but state your name and address for the record. You are requested to keep your remarks brief and factual. Both parties of an issue will be granted uniform maximum time to speak. This typically runs between 3 to 5 minutes. This hearing is considered quasi-judicial. Conduct is formal, and profane or derogatory comments will not be tolerated.
Do we have a quorum?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, with 5 members present, we do.
Proof of publication?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. It was published October 30th, 2021 in the Pensacola News Journal.
We have the minutes. Can I?
We did not receive the minutes back from the court reporter, so they will
Okay.
be up to be approved at our next meeting.
Okay. Public forum.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I have one request form, Mr. Arto Pryor. Mr. Pryor, if you could come to the podium, state your name and address for the record.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Arto Pryor. I'm a resident of Pensacola.
What's your address?
1101 Medford Avenue.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I am here to petition that my plumbing license be reinstated because of some, I would say, legal technical errors. I have a petition here that I'd like to turn in before I leave this podium. It was a somewhat awkward situation where I hired a licensed contractor to do a job, to pull a license. It was septic to sewer. Inspector came out, passed the job, and he said to the homeowner, who's getting paid? And the homeowner showed him the receipt that had my name on it and not the plumber that was licensed to pull the permit. And he reported back to the competency board, and they said that was illegal. Okay, and I went to the competency board meeting, and there was a fine assessed to me and the other plumber of $500. The other plumber paid the $500. I didn't pay mine. It was contingent on if you're going to pull a permit, pay the $500, and everything will be back to step one. Well, not pulling a permit over an extended period of time, and when I went to pay it over years later, they said the bill was $2,500. When I asked why is it $2,000 more than we agreed, they said you hadn't paid your annual dues of like $125, $150 a year. And I said, okay, show me the ordinance. Show me the law. Well, I can't show it to you. I said, well, you gonna give me a receipt? No, I'm not gonna give you a receipt. And And I asked why would I not going to get a receipt with a number on it saying, why am I paying this money? Why am I paying these dues? I was not offered a receipt. I was not shown a receipt. So as time goes on, I feel that the competency board has to take, and this well, I guess you call it the administration here, has to take a more aggressive role. If I owe you money, send me a bill. That's what the county does. They even send me a bill for my toolbox, stating on there, so much for fire, so much for school. Here's the number. Why do you got to pay it? But this office will not readily show me within seconds why I have to pay this $2,000. So that's why I'm here today, and I feel like it would be beneficial for the community that we squash this and go back to zero to where I can start pulling permits.
Okay, we'll have to leave that up to, go ahead.
So, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Pryor, back in 2003, was fined by the Contractor Competency Board in the amount of $500 for unlicensed contracting. I was not here at the time. I cannot find any evidence of where that fine was paid. But after that time, Mr. Pryor did not renew his license annually. So from the time of 2003 to present, Mr. Pryor has not paid his renewal fee. During that time, notices are mailed to the contractor at their address on record, where there was a period from 2017 until earlier this year where they were emailed from our system. But anyhow, that being said, from 2003 until now, Mr. Pryor has not renewed his license. Excuse me, my phone. So the fees that were assessed, and I've spoken to Mr. Pryor on a few occasions, in our county ordinance, it states that there is a reinstatement application fee of $150. There is a late fee of $200. There is a annual renewal fee for the current year of $125, and then he has to pay $62.50 for each year that he failed to renew. I tabulated that this morning. The total for him to reinstate his license, if this board should approve it, would be $1,662.50. He would have to apply for reinstatement and meet the criteria that are outlined within our county ordinance to be approved for reinstatement by this board. If he'd like to put in an application, he can do so.
Yeah, it sounds like this needs to come to the board formally as an agenda item if it's two. So this is a public forum and it's not an agenda item, so I really can't do anything with that today. But if you would get with the staff and they can you can petition the board through the staff. But because it's a public forum and we're not on the agenda item, we really can't do anything today with it.
You can, Mr. Pryor, you can apply for a reinstatement of your license, but you would have to pay those fees to have your license reinstated if the board should approve you for that.
Okay, $1,600 is not the end of the world, but I just don't want this. I think the inspector, when he was on the job, if he passed the job and then asked the homeowner who's getting paid, he's making law. Okay, that's what I'm trying to get across here. It's unprecedented. There's no construction site that's being inspected, that is going to be inspected, that the owner of the property has to be there and he has to have proof of he's getting paid. I'm trying to get you guys, these inspectors shouldn't be making law out here.
Yes, sir, Mr. Pryor. I understand that, and that was a case that was heard by this board a very long time ago. We just want to help you to get your license reinstated, so that's what we're going to address.
Okay, I'm good. May I give you that? It's a petition.
Sure, yes, thank you. If you want to get with Ms. Tranasa after this board meeting is over, and she can help you with that reinstatement application.
All right, Board Secretary status report?
We actually have another request for public forum.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yep, Mark Very. Mr. Very, if you'll come to the podium, state your name and address for the record.
Name and what?
Name and address for the record, Mr. Very.
Mark Very at 149 Yucatan Drive, Pensacola. I missed my annual, I've got a residential contractor license I've had for many years, and it's supposed to, get renewed in the first part of July. Of course, it's $125. I missed it this year. I was out of the country on as I explained in a letter, on a missions trip, and it just distracted me to get back and miss that simple renewal date. I took care of everything with Tallahassee, my 14 hours continuing education, which of course occurs every 2 years. And I'd very much like to just continue on with, even though I'm semi-retired now, I'd like to continue on. I only work in Escambia County. I really don't work in any other near adjoining counties. But I was just hoping for some consideration today, and the really steep renewal fee for being late. I was wondering if I could just continue on with the 125. That was my request today.
So, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Very, at the time of his application for reinstatement, was 100 days delinquent. That is in excess of the 90 days where they don't have to pay the additional late fee. So his renewal fee or reinstatement fee would be $475. And so I think Mr. Very is requesting a waiver of some of those fees. I think, Matt, if, we've had this question before on waiver of fees and if the board has the ability to waive any fees.
Well, I would suggest that the board take the action it took with Mr. Pryor's case, is not address this request during the public forum.
Right.
You can set it on the next agenda and have staff review it and then bring it back before the board, assuming he qualifies.
Yeah. They would have to come back as an item,
Yeah.
not public forum. So if you can get with the staff and get on the agenda for the next meeting.
Okay.
It should be the
Thank you.
first Wednesday of next month, will be the next meeting.
Can I talk to you about that later? Okay.
Thank you. Any additional public forum?
No, sir.
Okay, status report?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. This item is Mr. Gary Brock, and he is requesting to step down from, he was previously approved to test, but he's requesting to step down from building contractor to residential contractor.
Is he present?
Mr. Brock, if you'll please state your name and address for the record.
Good morning, Gary Brock, 2112 Blakely Avenue, Pensacola.
And you want to step down from your building contractor to residential contractor?
Yes, sir, just
Okay.
some changes.
Do I get a motion from the board?
Motion to approve.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. You have a good day. All right, on to contractor applications.
Contractor application, 7-1, Mr. Brown Bradley. Mr. Bradley Brown, can you state your first and last name and address for the record, please, Mr. Brown?
Brad Brown, 803 Bienville Boulevard, Dauphin Island, Alabama.
His application for examination is for business and law only. He's already taken the specialty contractor structure license, but during the time that he tested in 2013, business and law wasn't required. So he just wants to do the business and law portion only.
If the board recalls, Mr. Brown put in an application previously to allow for us to approve him for reciprocity,
To reinstate his license.
or to reinstate his license, not reciprocity, to reinstate his license, but he had done an Alabama business and law. It was reviewed by legal. He needs to take the Florida business and law. He's returned today to get that approval.
All right, can I get a motion?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item is Jeffrey Grinder. Mr. Grinder, state your first and last name and address for the record, please.
Jeff Griner, 6021 Audubon Drive, Pensacola.
Mr. Grinder's application for examination for specialty structure, sir.
How you doing this morning?
Fine, thank you.
Good. I get a motion from the board?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Yeah. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say. Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Griner, Trinos will get with you after the meeting.
Next on the agenda is Mr. Joel Howell. Good morning. State your first and last name.
My name's Joel Howell. I have two addresses, 2266 Old Atmore Road in Flemington, Alabama, and 6845 Pine Forest Road in Pensacola.
Thank you.
Mr. Howell, application for examination. His first one is a mechanical contractor, for the approval from the board. And the second one is sheet metal contractor.
Can I get a motion for the mechanical contractor?
Motion to approve.
Can I get a second? Second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. And then a motion for the sheet metal contractor.
Motion to approve.
Can I get a second? Second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Mr. Howell, it's my understanding that you work with Mr. McGee, Varys McGee, who was a previous member of this board. So I think he's going to be helping to take over that business for Mr. McGee.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next on the agenda is Mr. Sam Yu. Mr. Sam Yu is not present today. He did inform me that he wouldn't be present. His application for examination is air conditioning B for the board's approval.
Can I get a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is Mr. Eric Shorter. State your first and last name and address for the record, Mr. Shorter.
Good morning, I'm Eric Shorter. My address is 211 South Club Street, Pensacola, Florida, 32502.
Mr. Shorter's application for examination is general contractor for the board's approval.
Can I get a motion?
Motion to approve.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next one on the agenda, Mr. Jeremy Allen. First and last name and address for the record, please.
My name is Jeremy Allen. I'm at 7310 Beulah Road in Pensacola.
Application for examination, general contractor for the board's approval.
Can I get a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second? Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, sir.
Next on the agenda is Mr. Victor Gazina. Galinas. Please state your first and last name for the record and your address.
My name is Victor Godinez. I live on 7108 Calumet Court, Pensacola, Florida, 32504.
His application for examination is to do unlimited roofing for the board's approval.
Do you have any comments you'd like to make, or?
Hmm?
Did you have any comments you wanted to make?
I
You
was
don't
trying
have
go
to.
into- I was trying to go into, but I'm good.
Okay.
Yes.
Can I get a motion?
Motion to approve.
Can I get a second? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, sir.
Good luck.
Thank you.
That's all for licensing. Thank you.
All right, go to probable cause.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Our item under the probable cause hearing is Mark Mahalski, doing business as Blue Haven Pools on the Gulf LLC, state certified license number CPC 1458642, CCB complaint number 211069 COM. It's in regard to Christopher Delamura, homeowner complainant at 10560 Squall Line Road in Pensacola, Florida. I believe Mr. Mahalski is present today. I do not see anyone else in the audience, so I don't believe Mr. Delamura is present. We do have our investigator, Ms. Reber, who can give a rundown of the case, and then we can hear from Mr. Mahalski. Sounds good?
My name is Mark Mahalski, 8838 Dawes Lake
Mr.
Road.
Mahalski, if you'll let.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
Get excited there. I was going finger.
Thank you, sir.
I'm Melissa Reber, Investigations. This case centers around a contract to do a pool for Mr. Delamera. I apologize. There was a subcontractor involved in this, Gulf Pool Pros, who was working under Mr. Mahalski's license. They ended up hooking up some electrical work when Sasser Electric had the permit on the property. Sasser, Mr. Delamera came home to find that the electrical had been hooked up. He had some issues with that. Contacted the pool company, the electrical company. Mr. Mahalski ended up providing a statement that he had his dig crew inadvertently had hooked up to hook some pumps into the ground. And I had an inspector come out, and it wasn't really hooked up to code.
Okay.
Mr.
Now-
Mahalski?
Now go. Do we need any swearing in or anything for this? Or
Yes, sir, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman. If you could just be sworn in by the court reporter, that would be great.
I do. My name is Mark Mahalski, 8838 Dawes Lake Road North, Mobile, Alabama. I have with me Jeff Martin, who's my Vice President of Construction. He's got personal knowledge of the incident, and I'd like to defer to him because he's got personal knowledge of it.
And he would need to be sworn in as well?
Yes, sir,
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you
Hi.
state your name and address for the record?
Yes, ma'am. Jeff Martin, 4668 Red Oak Drive, Milton, Florida, 32583. Part of that, most of it's accurate. It's just what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of explain how we do things. So when we get a pool contract, we'll come out a week prior to, and we'll dig basically with the post hole digger and auger. We'll dig down and see if we hit groundwater. When we did that the week prior, no groundwater, no issues. So on dig day, lay the pool out, do everything like we normally do. Crew starts digging. My project manager leaves to go look at other pools and do all that. They hit water, and my frame crew made the right call that we needed de-water whips, but made the wrong call by doing them themselves instead of calling us and getting Sasser to do it. That was on day one. Day one, Mr. Delamera was going back and forth with my project manager and the senior project manager I have for the area at the throughout the evening about trash and things like that. The following morning, dig crew shows up to finish framing everything. Mr. Delamera denied access to the job site, demanded we have a meeting. Nobody was able to go out there, so I personally went out there. There was an inspector that he called out and had come look at the whip. Inspector told me, he said, it's not wrong, but it's not right. And so I understood, I don't know electrical, and I told him that. And so I called Steve Sasser, who owns Sasser Electric, talked to him, told him what I saw. He said, no, we gotta take it out. And it was the plug outlet they used was the wrong plug to feed a 220. So once Steve told me that, everything was disconnected. I stood at the power pole while I waited for Steve to come from Spanish Fort to disconnect. And so it was identified to us, and the minute that it was, we took care of it. I didn't know that night that they had to set dewater points and dewater the pool because it didn't show water when we did our pre-site. So it's something that happened, and we've since used this as an example for what we can't do. The gentleman in question with Golf Pool Pros, he knows they're not to touch it, even if it means we have to let the pool sit for 3 days until we can get Sasser there. Like that, it's just not an option. So, 100% avoidable, 100%. You know, we could have done better, and we get that. And so we're moving forward. This should not be an issue whatsoever. So, you want to get questions? I don't know really how this works.
Got any questions?
Motion to close?
I make a motion. I would second that motion.
Motion to close? Any discussion?
Motion to dismiss it.
That's your call.
Essentially, what you were doing here today is determining if there's probable cause for probable cause to support any violation of county code. It would appear that that's not the route you were intending to go, so you could essentially make a motion that you find no probable cause. That would be the appropriate
You
motion.
want to amend it to, you want to amend the motion?
Sir.
Amend the motion?
I didn't hear. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So what you're here for today is to determine whether there's probable cause to support the allegations that some violation may have occurred. So you can either do that, or you can make a motion to that there's no probable cause supporting a violation of county code.
I have a question. Was all this equipment removed?
It was removed as soon as he identified it to me. I called Sasser out to get it removed.
And then it was inspected after it was taken care of?
I'm not sure if Mr. Delamira had anybody come back out and inspect it. I know Steve Sasser came and took the whip out, replaced the breaker that we had replaced in there because the one that was in was faulty, but I'm not sure if the homeowner had somebody come out and inspect.
Is the pool still under construction?
No, sir. We're not building a pool.
Yeah, part of my responsibility and Jeff's is the charge with it, is make sure we maintain a safe workplace for our employees. And we've never done this in 7,000 pools. Mr. Murrah was unreasonable to be polite, and we opted to refund his money, and we filled the hole back in. Nothing to do with the complaint. That's not the issue. It was there's a lot of subsequent stuff that went on. And so 7,000 pools, we never had this happen. The complaint is we did wrong. We used it as a training opportunity. We're smarter today than we were tomorrow, or than yesterday. But we did not finish this pool. We abandoned it. We closed the permit out. We gave the gentleman's money back.
Okay.
That's how it went down.
Can I get a motion to dismiss probable cause?
I'd second that motion. I'll make the motion, and I'd second it again.
Yeah, I'll second.
Motion to dismiss?
Thank you.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Thank you, sir. Ready to adjourn?
There are no other items on the agenda.
All right. Do I need a motion to adjourn?
No, sir.
All right. Meeting is adjourned.
White.